All right, testing out a new mic. Let's see how this sounds. If this sounds worse, let me know in the comments. All right, so in this video, I want to talk a little bit about solo filmmaking. So for most of us right now, we're probably filming all of our videos by ourselves. And it's kind of hard to get some dynamic shots when you're not only the person who has to run the camera, but you also have to be in front of it too. If you're like me and you make YouTube videos or anything like that. And even if you don't make YouTube videos, just being a one-man band can be kind of challenging without the proper gear. And so I kind of wanted to talk today about a piece of gear that I think can really help with that. And that is the Zeapon Micro 2 motorized slider. Now, just a full disclaimer, Zeapon was nice enough to send this out to me for a review, but as with all my reviews, all the opinions on this are going to be my own. I'm not getting paid, and this is going to be my honest and unbiased opinion. So yeah, this is the Zeapon Micro 2 motorized camera slider. Now, I have reviewed a couple of other camera sliders in the past. In fact, I'll have a little playlist right here that you can go check those out. But this is kind of a different slider. So you'll notice right off the bat that it has a much different design. I think this is only like 18, 20 inches long. And so it's very compact and portable, but it doesn't have the feature that the other two sliders that I reviewed had, and that is it doesn't have a way for it to pan the actual sled that the camera sits on. So you're not going to be able to do any parallax slides like you could with the other two that I reviewed, but this does have some pretty interesting features, and it kind of solves a couple of problems that I had with those other two inexpensive sliders. So something that I thought was kind of interesting to try out was doing a cloning effect while moving the camera. Now, it's super easy to do a cloning effect when the camera's stationary and it's not moving at all, because all you have to do is just draw a mask around yourself, and as long as you don't cross paths with that other mask, you can pull off that clone effect pretty easily. But it gets tricky whenever you want to move the camera at all. And since this is a motorized slider and you can make repetitive movements that are exactly the same, you can shoot 3 different shots and then line them up, and it'll look like the camera is moving while there's a bunch of clones of yourself, which is what I did with this little micro slider in the beginning. So with this Zeapon Micro 2, it actually fixed a lot of the complaints that I had with those other two sliders. It has a physical control on the actual motor itself, so you can move the sled without having to use the app on your phone. But then it also has an app that you can use to move the sled, put your in and out points, and then just do precise repetitive movements. So as you would expect with any piece of professional filmmaking gear, it does perform really, really well. The slides that you can get with this little Zeapon Micro 2 are very, very smooth, and you can adjust the speed of how fast you want your slider to go, and you can pull off a lot of really nice dynamic shots. And I feel like at this point, everyone kind of knows what kind of shots you can pull off with a slider, so I feel like I don't need to explain that too much. But so some other quick things about the slider that you should know is that they run off of Sony MPF style batteries, and it actually comes with one, so that's pretty rad. It comes with a battery and a charger, so these just go right in here. You just turn it on, and after you've downloaded the Zeapon Micro Slider app, it'll connect automatically, and you can control your slider that way. The app is really easy to use, and it's pretty intuitive. You just set your in and out points. You can have it loop, or you can just do it once, and each time you press play, it'll go back to the starting point and just do that motion over and over again. And yeah, it has a little USB-C port right here, and then a link port so you can connect this motor to your camera, and you can do time lapses that way. But now let's get to some of the things that I don't like so much about this slider, and honestly, there isn't a lot. I think that out of all the sliders that I've used, this one is definitely my favorite. But some of the things that I didn't like so much about the slider is, although it is really small, don't let its size deceive you. This is actually a pretty heavy slider. You're definitely gonna feel this if you put it in your backpack and go hike up a mountain. This thing is pretty heavy. I'll put the weight of it right here so you can see, but yeah, it's definitely pretty heavy even without the battery, and you're gonna need to bring a battery obviously to get it to work. But yeah, it's a pretty heavy slider. The only other thing that I can really say is I kind of wish there was a way to do a pan in the middle, but I feel like that would make it even bigger and bulkier and probably cost more. And that brings me to the third con is that this is not a super budget-friendly slider. This is gonna cost you $400 on Amazon, so it's pretty expensive, but this is one of the more budget-friendly sliders that you can get, especially if you want something in this form factor. So although the slider only looks about 18 or 20 inches, it actually has a lot more travel than you would think. So the sled travels, but also the actual rail system travels too. The rails will travel on this middle part here, and the sled will travel as well. So you actually get a lot more reach than you think you would, which is pretty sweet. Anyways, that was my really quick review of this Zeapon Micro 2 motorized slider. It's pretty straightforward. It's a really well built and well thought out product. Again, it is kind of heavy and it is kind of expensive, but if you're looking for a really high quality compact slider, this is definitely one that I would recommend. Anyways, if you like that video, you can click right over here. You can check out some of my other videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Later.